Welcome to RCS. I'm Dan.
And I'm Nick. And we are lounging on my couch.
It is a nice day to be inside the couch.
It was cold today. It snowed last night. If you're listening to this week, you'll know when we recorded this. But it got really cold. Like, I didn't realize how cold it had been today because I've been sort of hibernating in my place, getting ready to go to Scottsdale this week for the Jet Center event. And like, I didn't realize how cold it was till I came down to get you. And I was like, gee, I was in like shorts and flip-flops, which was a mistake. So there are parts of me that still need to unfreeze.
I'm going to be very jealous of you in Arizona right now. Yeah, I drove to work in four-wheel drive this morning because, snow call me.
I'm sure nobody else was driving to work. Everybody else was.
Yeah,
I wonder if it's more acceptable now. People are like, oh, yeah, it snowed. I can stay at home. I know I can stay at home. I can work from home. I don't want to be at home. Yeah,
I think there's a lot less pressure to go to the office.
I realized while talking to everybody today that a lot of people were staying at home today, not because of the snow, but because yesterday was President's Day and the kids got today off for some reason. So a lot of parents were stuck at home with their children. So I didn't know it was a thing, but I had called several people that have children of school age. So, yeah, who knew?
Yeah, I did. I totally forgot President's Day was Monday until Friday when a bunch of my meetings got canceled and I didn't know why. I was like, oh, yeah.
Because it's President's Day, Dan. Woo-hoo. I didn't know it was either. I was working all day and not wondering why nobody was returning emails or phone calls. Yeah.
Well, we may be in Nick's apartment, but we're still brought to you by Avance, Carter Automotive Group, Griot's Garage, RCS 10 for 10% off. You're going to need those cleaning products after today. Haggerty, Let's Drive Together, Salvo Design, and York Real Estate.
Yeah.
Speaking of Carter Automotive Group,
yes,
we've got a nice tip of the week for you guys out there.
Yeah, this is actually something that we've talked about a lot, you and I, and we've never actually gone in and researched it. So
yeah, there's a little more to it. There's a little more to it and a little less to it.
Yeah.
And well, we're going to talk about VIN numbers today. Mm-hmm. And not as the whole show.
How to take them off,
right.
Change them. No.
Where to file them down.
Yes, where to file them. Which numbers to take off. Yeah.
Well, if you don't know, the VIN number on your car is located usually on the passenger side, or excuse me, the driver's side corner of your windshield.
Start with a lie. Yeah. You look on your passenger side till you find it.
There's probably one somewhere stamped over there, but it's mainly, there's a little metal tag usually in the driver's side corner of your windshield down at the bottom or on the door pillar as you open the driver's side door. That number is 17-digit VIN is the standard VIN now. And yes, there were shorter ones before, but the 17-digit one is the one we're going to talk about, which is the main one you see in all cars now. So starting with those first three, that is called the WMI, and that is the World Manufacturer Identifier. Not index. I keep thinking index. It's identifier.
Okay. So that's basically, the first one is identifying where in the world it was made, correct?
Yep, that's the first number of the VIN.
Okay.
So then one
is
US.
It's not always a number, though. It can be a letter, too, can it not?
It can.
Okay.
1, 4, and 5 are U.S., 2 is Canada, 3 is Mexico, but you might see them as K for Korea.
They had to search a long time to come up with that one, huh?
They did.
I'll tell you. It's made in Korea. Let's start with a K. I mean, obviously, they're going to have, is J Japan?
Yes.
I don't want to sound too skeptical, but and then Germany's GE or GO or no, they're not.
It's W actually.
W, that's what it is. Okay.
Interesting, huh? West Germany.
9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the letter doesn't always correspond exactly to where it's at. And if you want to go into this deep, we'll tell you right now, go to Wikipedia, and they have a very detailed list of every single identifier you can think of. And so...
Well, it's interesting. So if I make a kit car at my house, if I build a car, mm-hmm. it would still be manufactured in America, so I would still get a 1. But I think about some of these independent car companies out there, especially like Koenigsegg before. I guess they had cars in Sweden before.
And it's worth noting that we're talking about U.S. VINs here. So if you are in Japan or you're buying a car importing it from Japan, it's going to have a different looking VIN. So U.S. VIN though, like for example, I'll just jump down here, like 1B is Dodge, 1C Chrysler, 1F Ford. And
you can have a Japanese car that is manufactured here and it still gets a number 1 or a number like I think
yes.
My new Crosstrek, my new Wilderness is like I think it starts with a 4. If I remember correctly, but it's 4S. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
So the next one though, that's the 4 through 8 section. The middle, that's the vehicle descriptor. That's going to give you the model type, the restraints that are in it, the body type, the engine, and the transmission.
But that's not color in it. That comes later, right?
Those are in the identifier section.
Okay, got it.
Yep. So the next one, so that was 4 through
8.
And number 9 is called a check digit. This is the one that gets people. This code, this number combined with all the numbers in the VIN, validate the VIN as being real. Oh. It's just a check code that manufacturers use. So if it's
interesting because the 9th digit in my VIN is 9.
No.
So, yeah, I was like counting like 1, 2, 3. Okay. Huh.
So then 10 through 17 is where you get into the specifics. So you've got this 10 through 17 is called the VIS section, vehicle identification section.
Okay.
The 11th digit is the plant code, so that'll tell you like if it's made in Dearborn, Michigan, or in Kentucky somewhere.
Okay.
And then 12 through 17 is actually the identifying number of the vehicle.
That's the actual identifying number. Okay.
Yeah. So like it's vehicle 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 6. That's number 123,456.
Yeah. So mine's 18,000.
I guess there's
5. Jesus. 180,000. Good Lord. Slow down, Subaru.
Right. Yeah. And this really started in 1980. So you might, if you find anything before that, the VIN numbers are harder to identify. And one common misconception of VINs is that you get all these extra details from your VIN, like what options it has, things like that. That's only true from the manufacturer side. If you look up a VIN online from like the NHTSA, which is where probably the best site I've gone to find a VIN, you're going to get the basic build information on the car. But a dealership, an actual Ford dealer, an actual Audi dealer can look at your VIN number and give you all those options.
Because they go off of that identification number at the end.
Exactly.
Because we've all watched, the Rust Valley restorations and shops where they go and they go, oh, it came with red seats and it had a posi track rear end and you go, how are they getting that from that? But I mean, especially like the Dodge guys and stuff like that would always be able to pull those up. Obviously it was a special book.
Yeah, that's actually, they're looking at the book. They're cross-referencing it. So they know like, okay, this is a 69 Charger 446 pack. They're going to know that car only came in a certain amount of colors with a certain amount of options. And they also know that cars in this color and this engine only came with these color interiors. And so if you got something different, you got a really one-off car. But only, the manufacturer is going to be able to tell you that.
Yeah, and I think until we looked this up, I always assumed that you could get all that information from just reading the VIN. But you have to basically get the actual, the 12 through 17 code and then cross-reference it with the records from that car company that will tell you the options.
Right.
Yeah.
And I thought of this week because I was looking at brakes for the Audi.
Oh, okay.
And I needed the VIN
Somebody
number.
Somebody been, riding the brakes, racing
exactly.
it a little bit. Yeah,
exactly.
Sure.
So I had to run the VIN. I ran the VIN to make sure I got the right parts. And I can do that on the Audi page. If I run the VIN through like just a standard VIN lookup tool, though, it's not going to tell me what size the rear brakes were per the model year. Because Audi loves to change brakes by like 2 millimeters, 5 millimeters.
You can go to the Audi site and do that?
You can go to Audi dealers. So not like AudiUSA.com. You can go to like an Audi parts website.
I got it, and you look up your VIN through that. I get you. Okay, right. I was like,
and so then
do you have access to something you shouldn't have access to?
No. So, but if I want to look at parts, these are like back doors that dealerships have set up so they can, when you go to a parts counter, they say, "What's your VIN?" Yeah. It's not a stupid question. They're all the same. Chances are they're not. You know how many times I heard over the years they're all the same. Then I'm like, "Here's your plug wires for your Chevy 350. They're from an '84 Corvette. Good luck."
You only get 3 of them, but you need 6.
If you didn't want to tell me the VIN, I'm going to grab the most expensive ones I have because you were a jerk.
Yeah, it's a V8. Oh, they only come in packs of 3, and you got to buy 9 of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway.
Interesting.
So there's this little tidbit about VINs. It's kind of an interesting thing. Like I said, I encourage you to look at the Wikipedia page. We looked at several different sources trying to get this information, but I was shocked at how extensive it was for every single VIN thing you could think of on there with all the country identifiers and stuff. It's a pretty good Wikipedia page.
But the VIN would be different if it was a car manufactured in Japan that was in Japan.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
They have a whole different VIN number, which is interesting because when you import a car, like a Skyline or something like that, that'd be interesting to see. If anybody listening to this has an imported car that grew up in another country, I'd be interested to look what the VIN looks like. I'd be curious.
Yeah, I can look at some Japanese VINs on, what's the Seattle guys that import them?
Oh.
Sotomoto?
Yeah,
Sotomoto would be a good local expert.
Excuse me, I'm just here to look at VINs.
Well, they would be an excellent resource, though, especially now.
Yeah.
They've been doing it a long time, importing cars. So if you're looking at importing one, even if you're not getting it from them, those guys have been always so nice when I see them at every show. And so, yeah. But another hot topic, and it's going to be the topic of the show today that we wanted to talk about, was dealerships. And obviously, we are sponsored by Carter Automotive Group, so I want to put that out there, which is Volkswagen, Subaru, and Acura at the moment. Hopefully more. Hopefully Ford. That'd be nice because I want a bunch of Fords.
Carter Motors. Get on that. Dan would like you to buy a Ford dealership. So
I would like to buy some more
Let's
Ford
get on
trucks,
that, right? Wait, come on. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you don't know, if you're living under a rock, there's a slight markup in what they'll pay you for your car and what they want you to pay for the next car. And there's a lot of people that are displeased about that. Even some dealerships, or not dealerships, but manufacturers are, and I'm using my air quotes, supposedly mad about this. But a perfect good example is, you can get a car that has 26,000 miles on it that is selling for $4,000, $5,000 more than it was new 3 or 4 years ago. So that's the market we're living in. I'm making my prediction that I don't think it's going to last probably past the end of this year, maybe a little bit into the next year. But
couple years, I think.
Well, you got to think we've been at it for 2021 has been that way. I was actually surprised. If you look at Bring a Trailer, and we've talked about that, like the car market was insane during COVID. You would think, in my mind, if you're sitting at home and I'm not working, that I'm going to pull all my resources in, but people were buying, and I mean the market was insane. Yeah, now these cars are coming in. Perfectly good example, Broncos that are coming in, and they're getting a $50,000 markup. I think the ones that set the record this year were those new Dodge TRXs that were coming in, and they were base price like $75, and people were selling them for $150. I mean, almost 100% markup on some things.
I built one out. Because I actually wanted one more than the Raptor, if I'm being honest.
Oh, okay.
And I wanted to get one, but I wasn't going to pay $100,000 for the truck. Just the value wasn't there for me.
Yeah.
I optioned it out. I think I had one for like 86 or 87, and I was like, and after looking at dealer markups, I was like, I'm not going to chase one down.
I know a lot of people that are in that price point are paying cash, but if you're not and you want that, you've got to then convince a bank to loan you over. Or come up with you basically have to come up with the over. Mm-hmm. So basically, you're paying that dealer markup, and then you have a finance car that's 100% financed.
Yeah, and the financing stuff is a little interesting. There's a saying we use. It's completely not related to this. It's actually an accessibility requirement, but it's not about us without us. And I would love to have somebody who does financing for a living explain this to me, because you can get typically about 120% loan to value ratio on a new car.
Oh yeah, they're doing that now.
They've been doing that though.
But they're advertising it more now.
Right.
In the fact that with these prices. So
it was kind of a thing, like if you had, when I first realized this, I've had pretty good credit. I've been responsible with my credit most of my life. And so
makes one of us.
For a long time, I was getting this offered to me as I'd look at a car. I'd have my down payment ready, then I'd go to buy a car, and they would tell me like, oh, you don't need to put that much down. You have good credit. You could actually loan, your car, your sales tax, and even extras into it, and you'd be fine.
Yeah.
I was like, I never did that because I didn't think that was a very good practice for me when I was financing.
Well, it just makes you farther underwater in the fact if the market drops out and you paid $100,000 for a truck that's now only worth $50 and you owe the bank $50 or $100.
And these are pretty unprecedented times, because there was no worse investment than a mass market car as far as like
this is true.
For like putting your money into credit. I mean, you weren't going to get that return. It's super weird now that we are, but this is a first, to be clear, outside of the exotic realm.
But you're really not, because like you're selling your car for more, and the car you're buying is more. So I mean, it's somewhat equal.
Oh yeah, but if I had held on to my Porsche, for example, bought it for 95, I could have financed. I bought it for 105. Excuse me, I could have financed it for 115, and still would have been right side up.
Yeah.
Right now.
Yeah.
And so I mean, I didn't, but at the time that would have been the only time that has ever in history ever made sense. And now I'm worried about people in these 125% loans on Kias, which had an average markup over MSRP of $2,600.
Well, we've seen in 2008 what happens to the housing market and things like that when this stuff happens. So who knows what's going to happen next?
Who knows? So, maybe 2025 will be my year to buy a Raptor or Bronco Raptor for, $35,000.
Yeah. Slightly used.
Or brand new and still sitting on a lot.
That too.
Although I feel like the specialty market vehicles never do that. I think this is more of a mass market vehicle thing. It could really hit low like your Jeeps and your Tacomas, though.
Yeah, but this is hitting the mass market. As you and I were looking up, and I think you brought it to me, Kias, which are the kings of great warranties and cheap cars. I mean, there's a markup on that of what, $2,500?
The average was $2,400 in 2021.
I mean, I don't know. It feels like they're pricing a lot of people out of the market, even though they're giving people a lot of money for their trades. You're still. I mean, you're underwater. I mean, at the end of the day, the dealership wins. I mean, there's a lot of really good dealerships out there that aren't doing this. I want to say that, and they don't have to, but there's a lot of greedy dealerships out in this world that really are taking advantage of things, and that's why. And Dan's talked about this numerous times in the episodes. It's really good to shop dealerships that aren't where you live.
Oh yeah.
At the worst, it's a road trip.
Yeah, if you're into something market specialty, and I'm not an anti-capitalist in the sense that if there's a market demand that needs to be met and you have no inventory as a dealer, if you sold everything you had right now at MSRP, you would have nothing left. You have no way to pay the people who work for you.
Yeah.
So there is a weird sort of balance they have to walk. But then, there's a couple thousand over MSRP, which is appropriate when you can only keep a car on your floor for a maximum of 20 days. And then there's 20,000 over MSRP, which really is just kind of
What do you
greedy.
mean you can only keep it on the floor for 20 days?
The average flooring right now is 20 days on a car in the U.S. in a mass market car.
They're even lasting that long. But in a mass market, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, I was telling you, I remember the days like when my parents went in to buy, it was a 92 Subaru Legacy wagon. And I remember going to the dealership with my dad, I was like 12. And like you went in and they said, what do you want? Okay, I want this color, I want this. Okay, let's go to this section. And they had 7 of these in this color.
Yeah.
And it was either a stick or a dark interior. And you picked your car. It was right, It was like, but I think the days of instant gratification of buying a car are few and far between right now. I mean, dealerships have cars. Obviously, we all know that this chip shortage has caused huge issues. I mean, everybody points out Ford and Chevy, but it's been across the board with cars. Even, the Subaru brands and things like that. It's been tough. We talked to Carter Motors about that. It's been tough to get the cars because they're just not producing them fast enough because people were sick. And it's tough. It was a really tough market.
Yeah, Tesla taking chips out of steering wheels.
What?
They were disabling options to put in later that weren't as important.
Oh, like the self-driving crap?
Yeah, like they would take out chips from there that would work in other areas of the car because you used to compensate for shortages.
Exactly.
Here's
funny. Your car, Mr. Putnam. Until we get that other chip put in, don't turn left. So there's that.
We spend an average of 8 hours and 41 minutes a day facing screens. Laptops, smartphones, tablets, even digital refrigerators. But what are we really connected to? Isn't it time you connected to something greater? Sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect. This moment of escape was created by Hagerty for people who love cars.
And we're back.
It's like we never left.
Yeah.
It's like you push the button and then re-push the button. We're still here.
Quick with the fingers. All right, so here's what happened. There's probably like a record scratch sound or something I should insert before this, but Nick's out of town in Arizona, and we recorded this episode, and we had this lengthy middle segment of the show where we were talking about inflation in car prices, the used car market, the new car market, how everybody's overpaying. But it felt like, as I edited it, a lot of conjecture. Like, we didn't really know. We had a lot of our theories, and we had a lot of what we read, but you know what? I was like, we should just talk to somebody who is in the industry. And of course, we're sponsored by Carter Automotive Group, but I wanted to bring in sort of a neutral third party who, well, clearly wasn't paying for the show. Somebody who could just tell like it is. And not that I didn't think Carter would do that. Of course they would, but I didn't want the audience to feel like we were being swayed. So I called up our good buddy Brian Elich, who's been on the show before. Called Nick too, don't worry. I didn't cut him out here. I said, Brian, can you come down and talk to me about what it's like for you working in the industry and what you think the market's going to be like, how it's being treated from your side? Like, you guys have basically no inventory. Nobody has any real heavy inventory, it seems. So, Brian, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me again.
And so here's where we're at. So I want to go look at any new car, and all of a sudden those mass market cars, like say I want to go look at a new Hyundai or a new Subaru or anything, and it's like, hey, MSRP is suddenly a good deal. Where's the dealer rebates? Where's my $1,500 cash back if I, buy today? Where's the market at for you guys right now?
It's a crazy market. It depends on the exact model. There are models, like when you're talking about mass market, the easiest one is, let's call it the Silverado, right?
Okay, yeah.
If everybody wants just a basic 4-door Silverado, you're going to be able to go and get one at MSRP. But if you want a Trail Boss or a fully loaded, high country special edition or something that's harder to come by, that you're only finding on 1 or 2 lots in the state, that's where those, we can all say we hate them dealer adjustments come in, but at some point somebody has to make a determination if something's higher value than something else.
Yeah.
And a fully loaded one that there's 1 in the state versus the base model that there's 6 on your lot is worth more than something else. So that plays into the market.
Do you think there's a line like where, okay, let's say I want that new Everglades edition Bronco that just came out. Looks pretty sweet. Love the green. Green's in fashion right now. But it's a limited edition vehicle. Hard to get, or I want a Shelby, or I want a ZL1 1LE, or a new C8 Z06 is coming out. Any one of those hard to get vehicles, do you think there's like some kind of limit where it's like, okay, I could see paying back up. I'm the guy who's like death before 8 a.m. I will wait till that car is like 5 years old and then I will buy it.
And then you will go to Florida and drive it back.
And I will go to Florida and drive it back. It's like, but if I'm like the guy who wants to, super excited for that new C8 Z06, is there like a line? I mean, I could see somebody paying comfortably $5,000 over. Let's just say
there's always a line, and the line I always say is what you're comfortable with, right? I don't believe I could spend more than MSRP, but I see the numbers every day. So there are times where, I would wait. I would wait personally for something else because, right, I didn't buy a ZL1 at over MSRP.
Yeah.
But I did decide one day I did want a ZL1 again. You know, I had a green one, waited for the Corvette, had the Corvette, and end up, the right thing to buy is what you want and what you need. And, when we were talking about sports cars, right? So what should you pay? You did it. You went across the country, got a beautiful, right, Porsche, and drove it back, and then it's worth more than you paid for it years ago. There are specialty cars you're going to pay money for. When it comes to something like the ZL1 1LE, they only built 26 of them in the last 3 months nationally.
Yeah, so you're going to end up paying a lot for it.
That's a car that you maybe, it's just a Camaro, right? It's not something,
not
but
to
it's
somebody,
a special Camaro, to a guy like me who loves Chevrolet that thinks it's the world for how cheap it is. If I wasn't in the business, $5,000 over seems like a great deal if there's only 10 of them across the country that I could buy brand new, especially when the used market is roughly right there.
Yeah, what do you think about the manufacturers pushing back on the dealers, though? Because, I mean, like, we've seen the news, and Nick and I really wondered how real that was. Like, okay, there's like, we heard Hyundai specifically, which was odd, but we've seen it all the time with Ford, especially. We've always seen it with Ford. But, I mean, it's normal practice for Porsche to be like, you want a new 992 GT3 RS? All right, its MSRP is, I don't know what it is. I'm just saying it's like 300 probably. And they're like, yeah, but for you it's 450.
Yeah.
And that's normal practice for Porsche, Ferrari, exotics.
Look at the real articles, right? You're seeing all the clickbait, hey, you can't do this, you can't. If you read the articles, all of them, and Ford was the first one to do it, followed by GM that said, oh, we're going to crack down, right?
Yeah.
What they're doing is they're saying it in the nicest way possible. The true inner workings of that article say on EVs. Those manufacturers are sick of losing to Tesla on the I can buy it for what it says on the sticker and it'll ship to my house. And what they don't want is to bring out all these EVs and start having adjustments to make them the same price or higher than a Tesla and continue to lose in that market. Now, they're also saying, hey, what we don't want is bad publicity that these dealers are saying, hey, we'll sell you a new Corvette, and then it shows up, and then we raise the price because we have another guy down the street that will buy it. They're going to hurt those dealers in a different way. So I know Ford and General Motors said, hey, if you have cars sit on your lot because you're asking too much, we're not going to give you more allocation until those move. They've been doing that for 50 years.
I was going to say, that doesn't seem like anything new. It just seems like rewording the same thing.
Well, what it comes down to is, Dave Smith in Idaho has made a great name because he sells lots of cars because he was the first one to put big fat discounts on them and just move lots of units. And so he got lots of units, and then he continues to make more customers. Lee Johnson, I've been there 12 years now. We've done the same thing for a long time. We were the only ones for a long time that were 0 over on new Corvettes.
Yeah.
I can't help if another store gets more of them. I can say there's other ones in the area that are getting in trouble right now because they are asking so high over that their day supply is growing, and they're looking at it as, a car never sits here longer than 30 days. What do I have to worry about? I'm getting 10,000 over. So there's a give and a take with that.
Yeah.
But you got to play that depending on the model. I've taken on the role of the used car manager over at the Mazda store of Seattle that we've acquired, and man, try buying cars. The used car market is crazy.
That's exactly what I was going to ask you. So it seems it's easy to look from the outside in and be like, dealers are charging too much. But if you have to pay more to get inventory just like the rest of us, obviously everybody in a business has to make money or the business doesn't continue. So I get it. But when, like I've talked about on the show multiple times, when I take my truck in, I've gotten offers for more than I paid for it after tax, with 30,000+ miles on it. Dealers are like $75,000 cash I've been offered for my truck, multiple occasions. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
like,
you want to give me the keys right now? I might be able to sign you up.
Yeah, yeah, and they're like, I'm like, well, if you had anything to replace it with, and they're like, well, we can get you anything you want, and I'm like, yeah, for $30,000 over MSRP,
Yeah.
I'm not doing that.
Yeah, it's a trade-off, right? We're seeing it cars, we're seeing it housing, we're seeing it everywhere. That, we go back to, should you pay an ADM? Well, if you're getting $5,000 more than you paid for your car 3 years ago, and you got to drive it 20,000 miles. Then maybe $5,000 over on a brand new car makes sense.
Right.
And that's why I said, at the beginning, I think it all comes down to what you're trying to buy and what you're trying to do and what deal is good for you. Is it very relative? Sure. I know we have a really close, relationship with all the car people here, and I have a great customer in that relationship, and he's always said it. You can see all this stuff online. Ben Remack has said, you know what? Don't make it personal. Just go in. See if it works for you. See if it works for them. If it does, you'll drive away in a car. You'll be happy. They'll be happy. If it doesn't, then see if there's another dealer that has what you want. Because at the end of the day, if there is, you'll buy it for less somewhere else. If there's not, then maybe you'll realize that the deal that was on the table was a good deal.
Yeah, that's just it. If they gave me that much money for my Raptor right now, I would be stupid not to pay over like $5,000 over for a new Raptor, because there's so much residual money in the used that it totally washes that $5,000 off the top. Like it ends up with me ahead no matter what, even if that truck will not hold its value as well, which is not true, because oddly Raptors, Wranglers, Tacomas, they all are stupid with value and always have been.
Especially in our market.
In our market, yeah, especially. Yeah, so that is a different way to look at things, and it's very contrary to what I normally believe. But in this market,
Well, and again, there's other things to look at, right? If you're MSRP and you're a high interest rate, you're the same amount of money as if you're 5 over and a really low interest rate. Now, again, when it comes to sports cars, a lot of these people are cashing these things out and not financing them.
They're not financing anything,
unless you can find some crazy rate that just makes sense because you're doing something else with your money. But, this market is insane. I don't think we're ever going to see a time in our life again that will do this. 12 years in this, I know it was less than 2 years ago we were talking about most manufacturers, especially trucks, were in the $5,000, $7,000, $10,000, $12,000 between rebates, customer cash, discounts. And now you're talking there's places in our state that are $15,000 over MSRP for a truck.
Yeah. At the time I bought my truck, it was right before COVID went nuts. It was right about the start of it. And so it was like people hadn't quite really dug into the chip shortage yet. None of that stuff had really shown up yet. And I actually paid under MSRP, which was unheard of for a Raptor, but now impossible.
Yep.
That's funny you bring that up, though, about interest rates. I'm glad you're here, because this is, I think from an outside-in perspective, if you didn't know cars, it's an oversimplification to say things are just overpriced. It's not like that right now.
Yeah.
Like you brought up a really, really good point in that it depends on your interest rate a lot. Because if you're looking at the overall number, if you're going to be like, okay, I'm going to finance this thing for 5 or 6 years, and you're not going to pay it off early, that number is very different than MSRP.
Very different.
Very different.
This is where we could probably do a whole episode on how to buy a car or what is important in buying a car. And again, price is definitely important to a lot of people. The people that get hurt right now are the people that haven't bought a car in 6 or 7 years. Mm-hmm. The last time they bought a car was, they went in, they negotiated, they found what they needed, and or they didn't find what they exactly wanted. They settled for something, and now it's their time to buy something because they finally did everything they needed to, saved up their money, changed their life,
good.
Whatever it is.
Spot in their career,
and they go to pick out a car, and now it's like, oh, it's over, and their car is, even though it is worth more than it would have been, it's still aged enough that it's still not enough to help them get out of the I'm paying over for something. And now they're waiting. Right?
Yeah, they've got their older 5-year-old car that they've taken good care of, and they're like, they're going to give me more than I ever thought. It was originally worth $10,000 2 years ago. Now they're going to give me $13,000. And you're like, and the car I'm going to buy was originally $24,000, and now it's $32,000.
Yes. Yeah, and so then you're backwards, right?
Yeah.
Or you make a conscious decision, okay, I'm going to wait out this market. What do we think this market's going to be?
That's exactly what I was going to ask you next, is where you think how long is this going to last?
Anybody listening to this, and you're in that spot, and you really don't know, my gut tells me 18 more months. And I don't think that's for every car and every model. And again, back to those specifics of what might work for you. But I think you're around 18 months. But you really got to do some math on what is this car that I'm driving going to cost me for 18 months. because how much more maintenance or what are my potentials? Because again, if you're in a 3-year-old car, 18 more months, it might be just fine. No big deal,
yeah.
You're in a 5 or 6-year-old car, and this might be the second set of brakes. This might be a new set of tires. This might be
timing
a transmission.
Belt service, DCT
all the things
service,
that were around 5-7 years ago that are now going to start to rear their ugly head. There's plenty of new models coming out by all kinds of new manufacturers, and I think we're going to see both a change from what is available for inventory, because that's the number one problem, right? You can't go past a lot that doesn't look partially empty. Yeah, we get calls every day. Are you guys closing down? Well, I mean, officially some of our lots are going to move, but no, that's not why our inventory is not here. People just keep buying it, and we don't get enough.
Yeah,
we can beg for as many cars as we want. They can't build them fast enough. But you're going to see inventory become available, and hopefully these manufacturers smarten up and they don't have more inventory than's necessary. Because there's a give and a take there.
Yeah.
But you're also going to see new models. And when we're talking about things like EVs, I think you're going to see a range of EVs for everyday's short commutes. Kia Soul tried it out a while ago. They kind of took on the Nissan Leaf brand, right? Can we just make a right around 100 miles, get it out there, get it out cheap? I remember some of those leases were $99 a month. I mean, you could...
Pretty cheap experiment.
Yeah, and if you're just literally house to work and work to house and maybe the grocery store in between, it can work. You got to want to be in a Kia Soul, but, those cars are actually efficient for a lot of people.
Yeah, so that actually would have worked perfect for me because we have rapid charging stations all across the company. Yeah. Like, charging at work is just totally normal.
Yeah, the car's safe and it's visible. You see out of it, and you can pack a lot of stuff in it. It's just you going back and forth to work, so you don't need
who
a
cares?
big car.
$100 a month? I don't care.
$100 a month, yeah. Just pick out which color you want.
Yeah.
And I think we're going to see a range of stuff like that all the way up to your, top performers. These new trucks that are coming out.
Yeah, the Lightning looks, from Ford, actually, of all things, looks actually really nice.
Yeah. But you're going to see some very big price tags on some of these cars.
I was going to
say. Everything from that to the Hummer, and you're like, whoa, all right, we're crossing $100,000 for
a truck.
It's
massive.
Massive. Yeah.
It's like
9,000 pounds.
Yeah, 9,000 pounds. I'm like, is this like a Class C vehicle? Do I need a commercial license? Because that's a battering ram.
Yeah, that's... I don't want one of those to hit my Del Sol. It's going to be a pavement.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd be tiny.
Politics aside, there is rumor of a gas crunch with the recent war with Russia and Ukraine. Do you think gas prices predictably going up is the prediction we've been seeing? Do you think that's going to impact the market in a different way as far as heavy
like
trucks?
2013, when every Denali was on every lot for half price because nobody wanted to drive them at $6 a gallon.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember those days. Those were crazy. You couldn't keep a Chevy Cruze in stock or a Ford Focus. Everybody had one because, right, it was, again, same thing as that Kia Soul, like $99 a month. I will just not drive my SUV. I'll park it in my driveway, or maybe somebody will cash me out because it's 5 years old and I don't own anything on it. But
yeah, I had a boat at that time. You want painful, try having a boat.
Yeah. You're going to store it. You're going to pay on it. You're going to fix it.
How much is your boat? $400 a month in gas.
Yeah, in gas.
Per day.
Yeah, per day. You didn't use it very much.
Yeah, $400 a day. Yeah.
That sucked. I agree with you. I think we're going to see that. And that's going to be one of the reasons why these payments on these EVs are going to seem relative, right? Because if you can not pay $400 or $500, $600 a month in gas prices, and you can only pay $300 a month on an EV payment, right? They kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, I'm paying, let's see, I'm $4.15 a gallon, I think is what it averages around here if I Costco it the whole time. But with a 35-gallon tank, I can't even fill up on a single debit card fill.
Yeah, I heard that episode, but that is not Costco, by the way. That's your debit card. They don't want it because it pre-charges.
Pre-charges, yeah.
I know Costco would love to sell you as much as they can, and they'd like to get you in the door and get you to fill up the back of the bed.
Oh, they do every time too. Like, it's $175 every time in there. I feel like it was $100, and then inflation hit. Now it's $175 to go to Costco plus gas.
Plus gas, yeah. Well, I stopped looking at my gas bill. I drive a lot every day, wear down the tires, right?
Yeah. You live up to the name.
Live up to the name, and everything I have right now, other than the Grom, is not fuel efficient. Yeah, I've only had it 2 weeks. So I'm not done with it yet, so I haven't really been driving it. Yeah, it'll be an experiment. The last 2 times I drove it, I was like, oh my God, this is so slow. But the market was crazy. Okay, so this is my 4th one, right?
Yes. Okay.
Talking markets. I'm going to give everybody a hint here that I paid way too much.
For a Honda Del Sol.
Okay, so
which is a cool little car, by the way.
3 before.
Yeah.
I've never paid more than $3,000. I've driven them between 20 and 30,000 miles, and I've gotten $2,000 to $3,000 for it every time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I have looked and looked and looked. Now I do only want a specific color, and I only want, I was really hunting for the right one.
Yeah.
But the non-right ones were $6,500, and I was like, "This is crazy. I can't." Yeah. And it took me. I found the car in November, and it took me until the last week to buy it. And paying $10,000 for one was like, I wanted to strangle myself.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like a bring a trailer sucker of the week deal.
It was I was like, and that's what sold me. Somebody's like, "Did you see the last one on Bring a Trailer?" And I was like, "No." And I looked it up, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's the same car," and it went for $20,000.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, okay." And my wife was like, "You should just get it. You've been looking for 5 years." And then, again, price point wise, right? I was like, okay, I spent too much money on it. Now I got to look at what I want to do to it. That's where I'm saving money. I bought shocks and new springs and brakes, and it was in it like $900.
Yeah.
I mean, one part on the Camaro was way more than that. I basically got a new car here in parts, and I'm like $1,000 in. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. So hopefully I don't have to do anything else to it, because it'll be a fun little toy, and hopefully like 40 miles to the gallon.
Yeah. Yeah, so you've been looking forever, so I'm glad you finally got one.
Yeah.
I'm going to start riding my monkey to work, though. I can tell you that.
Yeah. I would drive the Grom from work to work, but, Seattle from Monroe, not being able to go on the highway. I'm going to do it just to say I did it, but
be careful.
It'll be one day.
And make sure you take it into work with you.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll park it in the shop or something. It's, but I mean, I got to go way out of the way to try to get it there from Monroe, not going on 522 or anything.
Yeah, I was going to say, how are you? I would just.
You got to cut through Monroe and end up in the middle of the valley, and then cut across, Woodinville Duval Road. No, and then I got to go up through Bothell Way, and I mean, it's just
Bothell River Highway. I didn't think about that.
Yeah,
Bothell River Highway to Lake City Way.
Yeah, and then all the way through Seattle. So it's just it's way out of the way, and that thing doesn't go very fast. So, like I said, I will do it one day just to say I did it, and more or less, I'm gonna hope that after work I can go drive around, right? Because that's the fun part. When you're just driving that thing, it's a blast.
I'm not endorsing this behavior, but the lack of people that are around that would cause you trouble, you could probably just take it on the Burt Gilman Trail.
Yeah. Somebody else told me that, and I was like, no. I'd rather just go on the highway. Other than the sheer fact, we did that once, remember, on the trip. And we're on the highway, and we're like, oh, my God, we just can't go fast enough.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't go on a bicycle trail. We were on a highway on Honda Monkeys, which was a terrible idea.
Terrible idea. It was great if you're going downhill with the wind behind you and you tucked
it in.
Anyway, so, back to the market. I think I want to give anybody that's got the advice I'd give you is, what do you need the car? Do you need the car? If you need the car and it makes sense and it's everything you need and want and you're going to plan on it, then look at the whole financial package and see if it'll work. And $2,000 or $3,000 on a $20,000 car is probably better than 10. Because there are dealers that are asking just way over. But you got to look at that cost savings. Like you said, you got a little under MSRP, but you still had to go out of state, bring it back, and there's a cost somewhat to that. So if you would have got one in state at MSRP, you'd have been like, "Oh, this is easy. I'm just at home,"
Yeah, no, I would have done that actually. I was actually willing to go out of state and pay MSRP, but it was the cheapest deal I could get in state at the time was $5,000 over MSRP. Yeah. And so when I put out, literally like 100 emails and was like, "Here's a copy of my credit report. Here's my cash. Like I'm ready to go. It's like, sell me this vehicle." I was like, "I want my Ford Raptor." And then the one dealer in Arizona was like, "Sure, come get it. Here's your price.
here's your take it or leave it."
Yeah, I was like, "Sweet, I'm on my way." And then what I saved, I just spent on a killer road trip coming back and having fun. So that was worth it. But yeah, if any dealer would have done MSRP local, I would have done it.
You would have done it.
Just went way easier, but I had more fun.
You bought a vet like that once.
Yeah.
We know a guy.
Yeah, we know a guy.
But you do your homework on all aspects of it, right? You knew kind of where you wanted to be on your finances. You knew kind of what your trading was worth. And I remember, we met down at the Nissan dealer to make sure it was what it needed to be. And so there are those special cases. The average person's coming in with their, 60, 70,000 mile everyday driver, and we see them every day. We know what's wrong with them or not wrong with them, and how much it's going to be to fix it. And you just try to do your best on getting the numbers right and make it make sense.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the financing, though. That's a big thing people forget when they look at numbers on a car, is they got to look at their financing, because if your credit isn't perfect, I mean, even if it is perfect, if you're not finding the right financing, it can really change the price of the car a lot if you're planning on holding on to it.
Yeah.
So, as always, better to pay cash.
Yeah, and if you can do that, then
if you can, yeah,
great. I mean,
most people can't, so I'm not knocking anybody.
I'm not the one that likes to pay cash for anything because I like to have too many things at once. Does the bank say I can own it? Okay, then I'll try.
Does the bank say they can float it while I take care of it?
I take care of it. Now, I also have done that because I don't keep things very long.
Right.
There's no point in forking out all the cash and then 2 months later, when you decide you really don't like the vehicle, that you now need to either sell it and move all that money around. It's kind of easier when the bank just takes care of it.
Yeah. What's trade like for people right now? Are you guys paying like every other dealer, or are they paying just?
There's so many programs out there for people to see, and there's so many dealers because again, we don't have inventory. So you're willing to pay a little bit more. The ones that are hard are like the 6-month-old to 1-year-old cars, right? Because right now, like we said, a lot of those are right at or just above MSRP. But trade value says that's what it's at too, because it's so new. And it's like, well, no, it can't be that. Like, I know Kelly Blue Book's a great guide and everybody knows about it. But if Kelly says it's worth MSRP 6 months after you bought it and put 10,000 miles on it or whatever, it can't be, because if I'm selling a brand new one at MSRP, let's just say we're even talking ADMs at $2,000 over, why wouldn't somebody just buy a brand new one? Yeah. Why would you want somebody's 6-month-old one for the same price? So, there's a side of the market that's really hard there.
So it's going to be a tough conversation.
It's a really tough conversation when somebody's like, no, I know, I looked up my car. And it's like, I looked up your car too, and I see the same number. I'm selling them for less. See right there.
Yeah.
We're seeing lease returns.
I was wondering how that was going, because on a lease return, you don't always have to just, like, it's not just walking in, turning over your keys every time.
The manufacturers took the step to take that away not too long ago. There's still a couple, but Ford, for a long time, you could only go back to Ford, and all the other manufacturers have caught on to that this round, right? Because used cars are so hard to get, and customers, right, only really own half that car, right? The other half of this by that manufacturer. So they've said, hey, you have to go back to the dealer that you're at now. Not every manufacturer has done that, but majority of them. So you are correct. There are instances when you're not just handing over the keys. Right now we are seeing some equity in some stuff, and people can get into a new car and have a little bit of that equity go towards that new car, and that's great versus just turning it in. But you got to do the rest of the math and calculation on if there's a disposition fee or if you have damage on your car, and that's where things get. There's not a straight, hey, you can just go sell your lease and make money, right?
That's what I was wondering.
There's other things in there, right? Do you have damage? Do you not have damage? Is the manufacturer that you're currently leasing allowing you to sell it? Or do you only get the option to buy it or turn it in? And in our state, if you're buying it and then paying taxes on it and then trying to sell it, you're not really in the best position, right? At 10+% taxes, it starts adding up pretty quick. So anybody in that boat that's looking for another car, it's a great conversation, great talk, sit down, look at the numbers. Anybody that's just getting out of their car, you're going to, just like if you didn't lease the car, whether you purchase it, lease it, or whatever, there's a value to it.
Yeah.
And now it's just figuring out who's going to help you get it and how much is that actual value.
All right. I want to touch back on something you brought up in the very beginning of this with Tesla and their model of just go online, find your car, pick your options. Basically, if you're in Washington, it's more difficult in other states, but in Washington, it's pretty much just like, buy. That's it. And if you have financing, they can do that too. You can bring up your own financing. All that can be worked out, and there's no dealers. Do you think the market is going to head toward that eventually?
It's 100% heading towards that in the EV market.
Yeah. Right? You think it's going to be EV thing?
It is because, again, Tesla owns that market, right? They just sell way more cars and have done it and have way more happy customers doing it that way. When those cars come out and you can just click, those cars only come one way, so it's really easy for a consumer.
What brake color caliper do you want? What interior color do you want?
Yeah, so it's really easy for a customer. I would never do that on a pickup.
Right.
I know pickup, so I could do it. The majority of people that think they want to pick up that have no idea what they're getting for motors and transmissions and why they need
Here's
or
your
what
300 options. Take your pick. Good luck.
300,000 options. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, in the EV segment, pick a color, pick it with leather or without or whatever, small options.
Yeah.
It's extremely easy for Tesla to sell cars that way. And you're seeing, right, the Hummer came out, the first edition you can only get by buying it right from GM. Right, you click the button. I will send GM money. I will tell GM what dealer to send it to.
I was going to say, that's because, like I said, Tesla doesn't have dealers; they have galleries, and they don't have salespeople. They have spokespeople.
Yep.
And you're not signing. If you go to a Tesla gallery, like in Bellevue Square Mall locally here, you're literally like, yeah, you like it? Okay, sit down in front of the computer and buy it because I'm out. And that's working. So whatever. So GM is working in the same law.
GM, Ford, everybody is because it's what Mazda did it years ago. There was a special launch edition of the MX-5 Miata.
Oh yeah,
they were the first company besides Tesla that said, "Hey, this is what we're going to do. We're going to stop ADMs by saying we're going to launch this. You tell us what dealer to send it to."
Yeah, it's still going through the dealer though.
It 100% goes through the dealer, but. Think about consumer ratings, right? The dealers all want, 5 stars. Whether they do good or bad, they're going to beg you to give you a 5-star survey.
Right.
But what better way to find out if a dealer is doing good or bad than the manufacturer saying, hey, consumer, pay me. I'll send that money to your dealer of choice and ship them the car. And you saw that years ago with Mazda, and it worked really well, right? That Miata came out, there was no ADMs, unless somebody canceled their order, and now that dealership had an extra car.
Yeah.
But they were the only one with that car, right? Back to that supply and demand.
Yeah, you want it. We're the only ones that got it, period.
You literally couldn't get this car unless you logged in, and once they were sold out, they were sold out.
Yeah.
So now it became a collector's item. It's worth more money because you can never get it again. But you're seeing that start with all new launch editions. I was actually surprised the C8 didn't come with that as a start, and they still haven't said yes or no on the Z06, but I think there's too much going down the pipeline and too many orders. I think it'd actually be bad press for them. But you're starting to see it, right? These Broncos and all these EVs coming out. They're like, oh yeah, we're going to make this special edition launch right through the manufacturer, and that's what they're doing. They're saying, hey, where do you want your car? And most people will do it to their local store.
Yeah,
and it's better for the manufacturer to get you in your local store. You're more likely to go back. What I can say, there is some dealerships that elected to do the first Bolt stuff. And when the Bolt just did the new redesign, right, the EUV, we were so excited as Lee Johnson because we got 7 pre-orders and no one else in the state got more than 2. And so, right, that's a great win for GM to say, hey, you guys must be doing great. Your customers love you. They want you to go back. And then, all the Bolt problems. So they're still sitting there waiting for batteries. But,
yeah,
so we tried. We did good.
EVs are still a new market.
It's way new market. But that's why, going back to Tesla, I don't know the inners and outers. I know that they couldn't put dealers in, right?
Yeah.
They were told, get out of here. And what they did was say, okay, we'll just keep the dealers we got here and we'll direct ship to the consumer. And oh my God, did that change the car world and throw it upside down? And it's
funny. We talked about this. I think we removed it from the show. It's one of the things Nick and I talked about in our previous recording here was that in Texas, where you cannot buy a Tesla, period.
Yep.
If you are in Texas, you can order a Tesla and then it will go to a neighboring state where you can sign the paperwork, where you don't actually, from what I've talked to, I did a little bit of digging on Reddit, and people don't actually go out of state. They just send their paperwork out of state, digitally sign it, because that's legal, then send it back to Tesla, and then Tesla will go out of state, pick up the car, and deliver it to a Tesla service center near you in Texas, or to your house.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
such a convoluted mess if you're not.
Well, and it's so bad, too, because, right, you're making it hard for the people who live in your state and want to drive something that it meets all your state regulations. I mean, there's no reason.
Well,
Texas
the dealer association is
fighting it.
Mm-hmm.
And again, so I mean, I'll be on the other side. I hate the Tesla model.
Yeah.
Because when somebody gets their car dropped off to them, they really don't get anything. Here's your paperwork. Here's your car.
Yeah. Watch the YouTube video. Good luck.
Watch. Yeah. And so for some people, and especially early adopter EVers, that worked well.
Yeah.
Right? You're going to do all the research. You're going to see everything. You're going to pick it up just like your phone and go. For some of the rest of the market, that push button start is still hard for lots of people.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about now, you go, I got to push button start, and then all right, we're going back to Mazda. You can't touch the touchscreen in the Mazda now. You have to do it like the BMW with the little thing, right?
So bad.
And so many people are mad because they're like, I see it, I can touch it. Everything else in my phone I can touch. Why can't I touch this? And again, somewhere, somehow, somebody determined it was unsafe. So it's not that they don't want to, or they don't just do it just for fun. So that market of buying online and getting it shipped and not actually getting explanation of the car, you take out the real personalization of, let me show you how it works.
Yeah, and that is a big deal for me. Like, obviously, and a lot of our listeners, we love to research everything on our car. I'll watch every video I can find before I get my car, or even afterwards. I'm still just like, oh, let me find all the the top 10 things I didn't know about the car I've had for a year.
Yeah, I own 4 of them, and I'm like, oh, there's a button here I never saw before.
Right? Yeah. I was looking at the one for the S3 the other day, and I was like, oh yeah, this thing has a wiper mode too. And before, I would just pop the hood and then pull the wipers up and do it that way. And I was like, oh wait, it's German, because we did a Carter Subaru tip of the week that you could put the BMW wipers in service mode. They just pop straight up. And I was like, watching this video, I'm like, oh, I didn't know they did that. And then I realized I'd never looked at the front before, and I realized it had headlight washers that I'd never used in my life.
No, why would you use that?
And you pull both stalks back, and it washes the headlights. Yeah. But for me, I was like, because I've never had the car towed, I was like, I don't think I took enough time to look and realize they were on both sides, and I figured one of them was a plug to put the tow eye in.
Yeah.
Which, now that looking at the front, it obviously is not. And it's obvious those are headlight washers, but I had no idea how to use them, and I never cared to use them.
Well, it's little things, right? These cars are getting so smart, and the electronic rearview mirrors are becoming a big thing.
Yeah.
Right? Most cars have a way to blast water and air over that camera.
Yep.
I would say 95% of people have no idea that their car does that.
Yeah.
Right? And I just watched, wasn't there a commercial that just came out that they do that? It was kind of making fun of it, and then it was like, oh, it's a really good idea.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
Yeah, it's super useful.
Yeah. You ever drive around here after it rains and it starts drying up and everything gets kicked up to the back of your car? I mean...
Yeah, I've had to wipe off the back of camera on the truck I don't know how many times.
Yeah, every day.
Because you can't see crap at the back of that truck, and it's like I can either just drive by braille and back it into things, because that's huge, or I can actually clean it.
Luckily, you've been driving a long time, and you'd like to drive a lot of miles that you're like, I don't really need a camera, but it is sure helpful in that last 4 feet of like, okay, can I really go another foot?
Yeah. Well, there's so many times, too. The vehicles are so big now. We've talked about this before, that like compact pickups are now full-size pickups from 15 years ago. Yeah, and full-size pickups are like 3/4 and 1-ton commercial size now.
Your Raptor is the size of my 1980 3/4 ton, if you remember.
It's bigger.
Yeah.
Well, it's wider than a Hummer.
Yeah, it's
it weighs
massive.
about the same.
And my Colorado now is getting close to the size of your Raptor. I need to stop putting parts on it, and then it'll stay small. But
I was saying I can't wait for the Ranger Raptor to come out that we're finally getting, because it has power, which the Colorado lacked a lot.
Did you see the new special edition they're making?
No, I've heard about it.
Yeah, they're only making 50, but of that 50, you can choose that or the Cyclone. So they're really not making 50.
Yeah,
they're making 50 with the power.
Yeah. And so, but I can finally get something that'll fit down a trail.
Yes.
And still not really fit compared to any normal size vehicle, because it's got those massive fenders on it. But the new Ranger Raptor is still about 11 inches narrower than a
it
Raptor.
Actually looks like it'll be super fun.
Yeah, I'm like, that's going to be a great vehicle for me. And I was looking at that. I'm like, I actually would probably trade my full-size Raptor on that, because it's not the extra size I need. I actually want to go more places with it, and I'm so limited by how big that is.
Well, and we like to, go up in the snow, and we've watched your truck just be like, okay, I'm going to make my own path. And it does a great job of making its own path, but everybody else is like, I'm just going to drive down the normal path.
Yeah, it's good if I go first, because I clear so much out of the way in snow, and I can always back up.
All the people who have never been up there, their car's like, whoa, this trail's really big. It's easy.
I'm like, everything's tiny. Anyway, I appreciate you coming in and giving us more insight on this episode, because as much as we tried, it was like, man, we just need somebody who's doing this for a living in here.
Yeah, it's always fun to come in. Like I said, we can always do an episode of how you should buy a car. Right now, you should, look at the market on the specific one you want and see how many are out there, because if there's a whole bunch, somebody's going to give you a deal.
Yeah.
If there's 3, are they all in the state, or are they across the country? Because things get limited, then prices go up, and it doesn't matter if it's a car or something else. But cars are just hard, because it's been a mentality to go in and negotiate and get a discount because
Yeah.
I know the one thing everybody wants to do is say how much less than you paid than the last guy.
You're right. Yep.
And, how much more you got in trade-in later than the other guy did. So, but
I can't undersell the value of getting what you want, though.
No, absolutely not. Like I said, does it fit your needs? Does it do what you want to do? Especially for your everyday commuter. The thing that you need to use every day, does it fit your lifestyle? Sometimes a truck is necessary for people. Maybe your lifestyle is bringing stuff back and forth to the house, and it's really easy in a truck or a mid to large size SUV because you're not worried about folding the seats down and putting it in there. But
I can't tell you how many times since moving out to the country, like a truck is a necessity now.
Yeah,
a Raptor's not. It's not for anybody, to be clear.
Well,
but I like it a lot more.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I get it.
I mean, if you bought out of your house in the middle of the desert every day, sure, maybe.
Sure. Well, with the price of some of these other trucks, it's not that much more to just have a Raptor.
Yeah. No, it's more fun. I'll give it that.
Yeah, they're extremely nice trucks.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, man. I really appreciate it. And, we'll catch you again next time soon, I'm sure. We have another monkey rally we're planning this year, which Brian and I and Nick and
Brandon Ben Powell.
We got to say Brandon Ben Powell.
That's an extra Brandon Ben Powell.
I think my buddy Adam is going to be along for the first time, one of my oldest friends, and I'm sure a few other people will step up because after hearing how much fun we had last time. And then coming up on the show in the next couple of weeks, we actually have the guys from the Backcountry Discovery Route as guests, and I'm going to get the whole story on that. So
can I be a outside guest for this?
Because
I want to. I mean, how much fun we had.
Yeah.
In the short time that we ended up only being able to do it. Anybody that's even considering it, just spend the money, get one, and come with us because it's a trip of a lifetime. I after last year said, oh, that was the greatest thing I ever did, and then this year I bought another bike to build and go again because it was that good.
Yep. It's pretty much just like the first part of that episode is just going to be thanking them for all their work because it was the most fun I ever had on a motorcycle in my life. And if it wasn't for their hard work, I'm really looking forward to having those guys on the show. So, all right, man.
Thank you.
Grandpa, what do you call this thing again?
It's a 66 Ford Bronco.
I think you got ripped off.
Why is that, honey?
It's got no Wi-Fi, no USB port, no Bluetooth.
Exactly. I guess we'll just have to talk.
Sometimes the best way to connect is to disconnect.
Is that the window button?
It's called a window crank.
Cool. The faster I move it, the faster it goes down.
This moment of escape was created by Haggerty.
Being old is kind of cool, Grandpa.
Works for me.
For people who love cars.
Coming up at Avance right now.
Portland International Auto Show this weekend, and then Avance Dyno Day at Carb Connection in Kirkland. Always fun, 10 to 4.
Anybody in Portland Avance or that's going down to the Portland Auto Show, if you're there, take some pictures of if the new Raptor Bronco's there.
Yes, I want to see that, please.
Post them up because I'd be curious to see it. So, yeah. Yeah,
I really want to see how wide it is. Those fender flares look ridiculous right now. I want to see it.
Well, and I'm wondering if you could take those, because the Bronco, those come off. I'm wondering if you could take the Raptor ones off and put on a more narrow one, like the regular Bronco ones.
Yeah.
Because they're supposed to come off, remember?
Yeah, but the suspension's pushed way out.
Yeah, but I mean, you can still put them.
Just throwing mud everywhere.
Absolutely, yeah. So
everybody hate you.
Yeah.
New Ranger Raptor, speaking of Raptors.
I don't like the bed. There's something about it.
The bed looks funky. I don't know what it is. I think it's just because they had to raise it up for the fender flare arches for the suspension.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to see it. Is that what you saw in Thailand or whatever?
I saw the last one.
Okay.
Which was not the same as this one. The previous Ranger Raptor that is out is a diesel, and it is not nearly as big as the new one.
I'll tell you, that green Raptor that comes to the off-road events, he's done the Raptor, or the green...
The Ranger Raptor.
Ranger, yeah, he made his own Raptor. It's gorgeous.
Yep.
Love it.
That's the right one.
Yeah.
I would love one because the biggest problem with the Raptor is that it's too wide. It doesn't fit in trails. And so a Ranger Raptor with 400 horsepower is awesome.
That's all?
Yeah. Untuned.
I know. I'm joking. Yeah.
So that fits what I need, what I want. I want a smaller Raptor because I want all the suspension travel. I want the bed. And this, if it's like, we'll see how much narrower it is. Because if the Bronco Raptor is as wide as the regular F-150 Raptor, that doesn't do me any good. But if the Ranger Raptor is, like regular F-150 size, which is like a foot narrower, that would be fantastic.
Fair enough.
Because I can go through trails.
Well, yeah, obviously, and you're not going to be as long, so that'd be good.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still banking on a two-door Bronco. That's what I really want for, not as a replacement in addition to, I really want a two-door.
Okay, and can you pull a video that I sent you on your phone and put it up?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to show the people of Rain City Supercars the Enzo that I showed you the video of this week.
Oh, yeah, I can definitely do that. Yeah, that's Clarence's car.
Yep. What do you think it costs to get new doors for an Enzo when you've cut the roof out of two of them?
So, yeah, our buddy down there has the highest mileage Enzo on the road, 90,000 miles, I think it is.
Not more, yeah.
Yeah.
And he put Targa doors on it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll share the video if we can get it to link up somehow. So
yeah, pretty impressive.
Yeah. All right. Well, for this episode of Rain City Supercars, I'm Nick.
I'm Dan. Don't just get there. Enjoy the drive.